Today on the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement.
We're going to discuss volatile markets today and if a recession will rob your retirement.
And on our Coach's Corner today, we're going to share some scary statistics that you need to be aware of now.
And on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to show you 3 things you need to do now to help weather the next market crash.
So sit back, relax, and learn. The Chad Schlegel Show starts
I'm Chad
now.
Schlegel. I believe financial planning is about educating people and empowering them to make better decisions with their hard-earned dollars. Coaching gives me satisfaction from watching a player succeed and get better. You need an experienced team around you. The best coaches have great assistant coaches. I have brought a lot of the techniques and structure I learned from playing and coaching football and applied them to the world of investing. My goal now is to coach as many individuals and families as I can on how to get successfully to and through retirement.
Welcome into the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement. I'm your host, Chad Schlegel, along with my co-host, Chad Tobin. And what we want to talk about today on the Clipboard segment is, will a recession rob your retirement? Of course, all of you watching here today, we're in a completely different economic environment. Our world's in a completely different way that we thought it would ever be with what's going on right now with the pandemic. So, of course, we're coming to you from our office, and we're going to do the best we can to make sure that we consistently bring you good, up-to-date information, and that's why we wanted to shoot this in our office here today, Chad.
Yeah, and I think, our top priority over the last probably month, especially the last few weeks, has been communication, and communication with our clients, with the public. And I think as a business, as these times have changed, that old face-to-face handshake is kind of been thrown out the window, and we're having to do a lot of our meetings via virtual meetings, via conference calls, but it has not affected the communication, and we've probably over-communicated and communicated more.
And that's the key right now, is in this current economic environment that we're in right now, it's not about wait, it'll come back. You do not want to be sitting on your hands. You want to be proactive, because we have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen next week, what's going to happen in the month. How long is this pandemic going to last? How long are we going to be basically locked in our houses and our offices? These are things that we don't know. So we want to make sure that we're proactive, and that's why we're going to talk about, are we going to go into a recession? Is the market going to come back? These are things we don't know, Chad.
Yeah, I think being proactive, a lot of times, having that game plan in place is proven to be so important in times like this. Speaking
about being proactive and going headlong into things, I want to share a story here. Bear with me. I am going to read this so I don't mess it up. A good friend of mine from Kansas shared with me. He says, here in Kansas, we're one of the few states in this great nation to have both cows and bison. Cows are often seen as dumb, simple-minded, cud-chewing creatures, while bisons have long been revered by the Native American culture and even known as the official mammal of the United States. One of the most fascinating differences between the two is how they react when a good old-fashioned Kansas storm approaches. Cows tend to huddle together, and as the storm arrives, they begin to run from it. Unable to outpace it, they actually prolong their own exposure by running with the storm. Bison, on the other hand, take a wildly different tactic. As the storm crests a hill on the Great Plains, bison cluster together and run headlong into it. In doing so, they actually decrease the pain and suffering they must endure because they minimize the time exposed to the elements. Folks, we are in a very big storm right now, and while others may choose to simply deny, avoid it, complain about it, or hope it miraculously goes away, now is the time to charge. And make sure when this is over, you and your portfolio are in a better place, not a worse place. In other words, we don't want to just sit on our hands, Chad.
Yeah, and I think, many people have a hard time really relating back to the 2007, 2008, that last recession. I mean, that's well over 10 years ago. And, as humans out there, we all have something called that short-term memory syndrome. We tend to kind of forget some of these things. And I think that's a good thing, but also in times like this, it can be a bad thing. So we have to really understand, the market's dropped significantly over the last month or so. And we're starting to see, the common public, they're panicking again. And they're now remembering how they felt back in 2007, 2008. So they're afraid of what's going to happen with their retirement. Many people are probably thinking, oh my gosh, I was getting so close to retirement, now I got to work another 5 more years or so.
And again, it is a time to be scared. It is a time to be aware, but I don't think it's a time to be panicked, or it's not a time to let fear control your life and your portfolio. And that's what we want to talk about today. When we come back on the Coach's Corner, we're going to share some scary statistics that you need to be aware of now, but also if you're retired, or if you're waiting to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, or wanting to retire in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to show you 3 important steps you need to take now. The number one concern of retirees today is outliving their hard-earned dollars. It is more important now than ever to educate and empower yourself to make better decisions with your money than it has taken you 30 to 40 years to accumulate. How do you do this? By using our Financial GPS, our guided planning system. This is a 4-step process to help get you successfully to and through retirement. The first step in this process is to create clarity. Here we will help identify your goals as well as your concerns and identify what you want to accomplish in retirement. The second step, we will analyze the risk you're taking with your current portfolio, and this step will also identify exactly what you are paying in fees. In the third step, we will evaluate and assess your current plan and help identify the gap between the missing pieces. And in the fourth and final step, this is where we will work together to implement a plan of action to accomplish your retirement goals. And this process can take place at any one of our convenient locations in Missouri, at our Creve Coeur and Sunset Hills offices, or in Illinois at our Edwardsville, Springfield, and Jacksonville locations. So call now to get set up on the right path on your journey through retirement. Today on the Coach's Corner, we want to talk and discuss some really scary statistics that we want to share with you. A lot of these stats we're going to kind of compare to what the market was, or the last time we had a great recession, if you will, Chad, back in 2008. So we understand a recession is a significant decline in economic activity that can last more than a few months. And many of us are probably assuming that we are well on our way to being in a recession right now. As we talked about before, Chad, we have no idea how long this pandemic, if you will, is going to last. Is it going to be weeks? Is it going to be months? It all really depends on who you talk to and what media outlet you watch. So what we want to do now is, of course, share some of those stats with you, but also how to protect yourself from these stats as well. So let's go through the first one, Chad, that I want to talk about. And as you can see on your PowerPoint, the first one we want to talk about is net worth. During the Great Recession back in 2008, Americans lost approximately $16 trillion in net worth over an 18-month span. Today, in one day, on February 24, 2020, the world's 500 richest people lost $139 billion on that Monday due to the stock market buckling from the fears that the coronavirus will hammer the global economy.
You know, I mean, we've seen the markets as high as 29,551 on February 12th, and we've seen it just since then over the last month as low under 19,000, in that 18,000 range. And you know, it just goes to show, you know, this kind of downturn in the market, how quickly it's come.
Yeah, within 2 weeks it just was a major decline. Of course, we weren't expecting that, and this is something that you got to be aware of and what we see happening right now. The other thing we want to talk about, which is huge today, are the unemployment rates. You know, during the Great Recession back in 2008, unemployment increased by an overall of 4.5%. Today, of course, with restaurants, with really everything that's out there shutting down, other than what they call is necessity, I guess, job that you have to go into. For that matter, everybody else is laid off. There's not, for most states, you're not supposed to be able to leave your house. So a record 3.3 million Americans filed for unemployment benefits as the coronavirus continues to slam the economy. Again, as I mentioned, restaurants, hotels, barbershops, gyms, really anything that the public can go to in masses is pretty much shut down and gone right now.
Yeah, and I think prior to this, you look at the nation's unemployment rate was 3.5% in February, a half a century low, but has likely probably risen. We're going to see these numbers over 5.5% unemployment. And the nation, we have not seen any of these kind of levels of unemployment since 2015. It's been a while.
So when we talk about unemployment, another thing we want to talk about are jobs lost. Over the 18-month period during the Great Recession, over 8.7 million jobs were lost. Today, it is estimated that some 37 million domestic jobs are vulnerable to layoffs due to the temporary shutdown caused by the viral outbreak.
Yeah, and I think, as we're talking, this $2 trillion stimulus package being passed, to provide, hopefully, the needed jolt into the economy from this, what we call war on something that we've never went to war against, this coronavirus.
And again, we'll probably need more stimulus after this, after a couple weeks, if this thing continues. And the other thing we want to talk about that really has affected a lot of people is interest rates. Another way the Fed is trying to help this market kind of recover and come back. The Federal Reserve slashed interest rates to near zero at a second emergency March meeting attempt at containing the economic fallout. This is the largest emergency reduction in the Fed's more than 100-year history. And of course, Chad, there's been talk of it going below zero, which is unheard of.
You're right. I mean, a lot of things are happening now. These numbers, are making a lot of us kind of panic a little bit. The uncertainty is just, it's so overwhelming right now. But we want to show you here how not to panic, really. And, we're going to talk about that coming up in the show.
How not to panic, but also some steps you should be taking to be smart in this current economic environment. As I mentioned earlier, even though there's a big storm going on right now with the market and what's going on in our country, there is a way to come out better on the other side. And for more information and to download our free white paper today about will a recession rob your retirement, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Coming up on our Chalk Talk segment today, we're going to show you 3 things that you need to do now to help be successful in retirement. We'll be right back.
He's such an involved dad. He's always telling the kids stories. I remember when so-and-so said I couldn't do this or I didn't make this team. That's what drives him. In our family, we always tell our kids to stick up for each other, stand behind one another. He feels it's his role to provide, keep us safe, and to make sure that the kids are taken care of. A lot of Chad's clients have the same traditional values, and he bonds with them. Each family has a different set of circumstances, and each family is unique and different. The common thread between all of Chad's clients is that they want the best for their family, just as he would our own family.
Welcome back into the Chad Schlegel Show, coaching you to and through retirement. So we just shared with you some scary statistics that you need to be aware of, but also now what we want to talk about is the current economic environment that we have right now, where we see the 1,000, 2,000 point swings in the market. How do you go from here so you can be successful in retirement, successful going forward after this pandemic is over? And that's really what we want to talk about now, Chad, and what a lot of people want to know. What are the answers? What should I be doing now?
Yeah, and I think, just because the market's down and it's really depressed and has been for the last month or so, doesn't necessarily mean if you have a game plan set up, you don't have to suffer with this kind of market crash. And I think that's so important, and the point we really want to relay here is, people that didn't have a plan going into this, they're the ones suffering. But if you had a plan in place, you're probably more comfortable and willing to kind of ride this out.
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. So the first thing we want to talk about, as you can see on your screen here, is number 1, don't panic. Too many people freak out and panic during volatile times like this. And as I mentioned earlier, do not let fear control you. But this is how you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. A lot of times people will ask us, Chad, and we recently had it on a video that we send out to our clients every couple of days, and on our Ask Chad segment. And one of those was, is now a time to sell? Should I sell when the market's dropping to protect that, or should I buy back in? What should I be doing with my money, or what should we be doing with our money and our investments?
Well, and I think our answer was yes and no. And I think you got to look at your current portfolio. And here's the thing: if this is money that is in the stock market that you've lost, and this market's going to continue to be volatile up and down, and it's money you need, and you're drawing income right now for the next year, 2, 3 years, that money probably may not be in the market or shouldn't be in the market. So you want to free up some cash to make sure you have that income for the next 1 to 2 years sitting on the sidelines. However, no. The answer is also no. If you've got good quality investments that are paying consistent dividends and quality investments that have paid these kinds of dividends for a long time through good and bad times, this is the time you want those companies to be reinvesting and buying these shares at a low point.
And I'm going to take that a step further, Chad. You know, what we tell a lot of our clients, which we've talked to over 1,500 people at our firm in the past 2 weeks, just letting our clients know, hey, you're okay. This is the game plan that we built. Did we think the market was going to drop this far just in a couple weeks? No. But the game plan that we have set up for you was we have money sitting in the secure bucket, where we know that money is safe. We know if the market goes down, you're not going to lose that money. And if you need income off of your investments, it's going to come from that secure bucket. This other money that has been hurt, the money that we have sitting in the growth bucket, it is at risk in the market. If the market goes down, though, it's not a big deal. That's money you don't need in the next year. That's money we do not have to draw income from. That's money, as you mentioned, Chad, is invested in good, solid companies that we know will come back. But there are also companies here that are paying dividends each and every quarter. So we're going in and buying more shares with a lot of these companies, these good quality companies that are down. So when they come back up, you're going to have an even bigger gain. And I think that's the thing that people need to understand. Don't panic. Stay where you're at. Well, it's yes and no. Should you get in or should you get out of the market? It's really about building a game plan and being proactive with that game plan, not reacting and being scared. And the problem is, Chad, that's why a lot of people are afraid. That's why a lot of people are letting fear run their portfolios, because they do not have that game plan set up right now.
Well, and when you're talking about a game plan, the word I always like to talk about is balance. And if you're sitting out there watching this and all of that money is 100% dependent on the stock market, and that's not necessarily a game plan, it's a hope plan. And I think with our clients, we've had that discussion of how much of your money are you comfortable losing in a time like this, and we've helped create that balanced plan, that game plan that has balance, to where, as Chad mentioned, maybe we shift where we're drawing income from and go to that secure bucket now and let that risk bucket, that growth bucket, breathe a little bit.
So the next thing you need to do, number 2, assess your situation. This is where you may have already have a game plan built, but you may need to adjust it. And it's a funny thing, Chad, when we have our workshops and different events that we ask people all the time, do you have a game plan? Yeah. The problem is they don't have a real game plan. As the great philosopher Mike Tyson once said, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. And unfortunately, a lot of you have been punched in the face lately with this market having a 10, 30, or even a 40% drop. So you have to ask yourself, is that plan still a good plan? And is that one that's going to get me successfully to and through retirement? So what we tell our clients all the time is plan for the worst and hope for the best when it comes to investing your hard-earned dollars.
Well, and I think it's so important, how do you get to even trying to build this plan? And it's really, we like to take our clients through a process. And I think the process, number 1, focuses on you first. And it's really a design to help you understand and get closer to your money. So in times like this how much you're comfortable having in the market, how much you need safe and sound, and that process is so important.
And that process, of course, folks, is what we call our financial GPS. The first step is we need to create clarity. Where are you at right now, and what goals do you have in mind? What do you want to achieve in retirement, whether you're retired now or whether if you're going to retire in the next 3 to 5 years? The other thing we need to do is step 2 is we analyze the risk you're taking right now. In other words, if this market continues to have a 10, 15% correction, how much of your money are you going to lose the way that it's set up right now? And also, we want to assess the fees that you're paying. Are you paying a lot of unnecessary fees on your accounts? Number 3, we want to evaluate your current plan and then define the missing gaps. And number 3 would be to implement a plan of action to get you successfully to and through retirement. Chad?
Number 4 there, that last one.
Oh, number 4, I'm sorry.
But that's okay. And I think, that 4-step GPS process, if you have that, you walk through that process, you understand exactly how much you're comfortable in the market, how much you need safe and sound, what those income needs are. Now, all of a sudden, times like this happen, whether it's now, whether it's in the future, you have a plan in place and you're comfortable, so you're not panicking in these kind of times.
And number 3, and probably most importantly, you want to make sure you have a guide. You want to make sure you have a coach. You want to make sure you talk to that professional, that retirement specialist who deals with retirees just like you each and every day. Ones that remember the crash of 9/11, the Great Recession of 2008. and have that game plan set up for you, Chad. And that's where we often talk about, you want to make sure that you have a little bit of money in all three worlds, the banking world, the Wall Street world, and the insurance world, but you also want to make sure that you have an advisor that works in all three worlds.
Well, and I think it's, you talk about the specialists, and we're very fortunate to be able to meet each and every day with our clients. And to be very honest, the majority of our clients have a lot of the similar questions, concerns, and when it comes to markets, we've had that conversation of risk and what they are comfortable. So you want that specialist that's sitting down with people just like you each and every day, focusing on what's important to you at this point.
You want to have that goal and you want to have that plan, because a goal without a plan is a wish, and you want to make sure you have that plan to be successful in retirement, as we mentioned earlier, so you can go headlong into the storm and be successful when you come out on the other side. For more information and to download our free white paper today about Will a Recession Rob Your Retirement, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. When we come back on our strategy play, we're going to help you determine whether or not you have the correct plan set up for your retirement. Stay with us. We'll be right back. On this week's strategy play, we're going to show you and help you on how to determine whether or not you have the correct plan for your hard-earned dollars.
And I think, when it comes to building a plan, again, a lot of times what we see, and, everybody thinks, well, I'm just going to keep going, investing, doing what I've done, and as they're getting close to retirement, they kind of tend to procrastinate. Maybe they think they should do something, but, being proactive and going through a process to really put a plan in place, the reason is for times just like this.
Well, and the other thing, Chad, crisis planning does not work. We talk to people all the time, oh yeah, I have a plan. I got a 401k over here. We got an IRA over here. We got a brokerage account over here. And you may have the monies that you need. You may have the investments to get you successfully through retirement. The problem is those vehicles are not working cohesively together to accomplish your goals. And as we're going to talk about here, if you have 70, 80, 90, maybe even 100% of your money invested in the stock market, of course you've taken a huge loss now and you've realized, hey, this may not be the plan that we want. So what we want to go through with you now, it doesn't matter if you retired 2 years ago, if you're retiring tomorrow, if you're going to retire in 3 to 5 years, you need to have that game plan set up. And in our opinion, and with our clients who have been successful, that aren't worrying about the 30 to 40% correction in the market, the reason is because they have that plan that we're going to talk about right now.
Well, and I think it's so important. While I just turned 40 years of age, and that plan of having maybe 100% of my money in the stock market at 40 makes a lot of sense. Willing to take some risk, took a pretty good hit right now. But for our parents, for our clients that are getting ready to retire, they see retirement in the next 1 to 3 to 5 years, or a lot of our clients, they've already retired. They can't afford to lose 30, 40% of their money because they're drawing income from that. And so now all of a sudden they're in that different phase.
Yep.
And that's so important to start working together to build that plan for the second
So if we
phase.
take a look here on the board, do you have a plan? And unfortunately, a lot of people that we talk to today, Chad, this is the plan they have. They have basically 80, 90, maybe 100% of their money is invested in the stock market, and it's all about grow at all costs. And it's important for your money to grow, but as you get closer to retirement, you want to start insulating your portfolio from a downturn in the market. So what your plan should look like as you get closer to retirement, and financial planning doesn't have to be hard. It's really pretty simple. What you want to do is you want to take a look at your money as a whole, and you want to separate that into 3 different buckets: the secure bucket, the growth bucket, and that legacy bucket, or that extra bucket. And as Chad just put here, you want to make sure that you have a balanced plan set up. As I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure you have enough money sitting in that secure bucket, where if you need income off of your money, you know that money's safe. You know if the market drops 20 to 30, 40%, that does not affect your money. If the interest rates go down to 0, doesn't affect your money. You have that money secure, but it's set up to give you that income stream if you need it, whether it be now or 6 months from now. And once you have that set up, Chad, then you can have money sitting in the growth bucket where you are taking some risk with that money, but as you mentioned earlier, good quality investments.
Yeah, and I think, a great question to kind of ask yourself is, when you're getting closer to retirement and you've just built that, $500,000, million, whatever it is, nest egg that you just spent 30, 40 years to accumulate. If we go through a 2008, if we go through a time like this, how much of that $1 million portfolio are you going to be okay and be able to sleep at night knowing you just lost 30-40%, or whatever that number is. You got to have that number. And you have to understand, by putting a plan in place, there's ways to protect you through good and bad times like we're seeing now. And so, the growth money, we got to have money in the market. Good quality dividend stocks. Right now, some of those companies, a lot of them are down, but we're reinvesting and buying more shares at a discount now, and over time, we'll ride that market back up.
And I think this is one thing that we mentioned earlier, Chad, with our clients. We've talked to over 1,000 people in the past week or two, and a lot of them, they're very comfortable. Even though the market's dropping, even though it's uncomfortable, they realize, hey, this is money we don't need right now. This is money that we can wait for it to come back. Why? Because we have plenty of money sitting in that secure bucket. And it's all about having that plan to be successful in retirement.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of our conversations, instead of clients panicking or, retirees panicking because they were maybe set up like this, a lot of our clients are realizing this is an opportunity. Maybe we need to be adding some money, buying some more at times like this, which is pretty good feeling to know we have the plan in place to allow them to not react with this market, to be able to be proactive.
To be proactive is the key. Are you afraid that you may have too much exposure in the stock market right now? Do you need help building a balanced plan to get you successfully to and through retirement? If so, we encourage you to give us a call today, and that's this week's Strategy Play. If you have any questions about today's show, or if you would like for us to discuss a new topic, email us at askchad@schlegelfinancial.com to have your questions answered on the show. We've covered a lot today, and what we want to talk about are the 3 important things to take away from today's show. And number 1, Chad, as we talked about earlier, do not let a recession rob your retirement. Nobody knows if the market's going to go up or down tomorrow, if it's going to go up or down next week, or how long this pandemic is going to last. So you want to make sure that you are prepared.
Yeah, and I think be proactive. If you're getting ready to go into retirement, go through that process, build a plan for times like this.
And understand some of the scary stats that are out there today, that if we do go into recession, again, Chad, it kind of goes along with what we talked about with the plan. Make sure that you have a plan, even if we have another recession like we did back in 2008. And number 3, make sure you follow the 3 steps that we just talked about to help weather this market crash.
Yeah, and I think we're going to be in this. These markets are going to be up, they're going to be down. They're the most volatile we've seen probably in if not ever, in a long time. So you've got to not react with emotion. You got to move forward with and make sure that you have a plan to be able to move forward.
And be proactive, not reactive when it comes to this market. And for more information on how you can be proactive, to download our free white paper today about will a recession rob your retirement and what steps you should be taking now, visit www.schlegelfinancial.com/empoweryou. Folks, we want to thank you for joining us. I know this is a little out of the ordinary. It's a little old school from what we're used to. We don't have the nice studio, Chad. We don't have the 3 or 4 cameras around us. We basically have an iPhone or iPad, and we're doing the best that we can. But we did not want to send a rerun to you. We want to send you good, up-to-date, solid information that you can use to get you successfully to and through retirement. So for my colleague, Chad Tobin, this is the host, Chad Schlegel. Thank you very much for joining us. We look forward to visiting with each and every one of you next week.